waiting for a tsunami. The blue tsunami. What happened, Democrats? You people know that conservatives love prepping. Like, we live for this. I had water on hand, I had food, I was prepared, and no such luck. So let's cover the results, shall we, of the most anticipated and most closely watched midterm elections in modern time. Boy, were they excited. Oh, Democrats, they were just so pumped. And they were a little let down. I felt flashbacks of 2016 election night. I can't think about that. I get too nostalgic. So what does it all mean? What can we expect going forward on a scale of Jimmy Kimmel to Khabib versus McGregor? How entertaining is it going to be going forward? We're going to cover all of it. First, I do want to touch on the mass shooting that happened today in Thousand Oaks, California. It might be tomorrow by the time I upload this video. But what we know as of now is that 11 citizens and 1 officer in a country music bar in SoCal were killed by an ex-Marine. The news has told us that there was a mental health inquisition that happened in April in response to an incident that occurred at his house. He was cleared after being checked by a mental health official. And so this looks to be another incident of someone who obviously suffered from a history of PTSD, as we're finding out, still being able to own a firearm. And I do think it's important that we point out that California has an A rating by the Brady Center for Gun Control, essentially the quintessential measure of how safe a state is as far as their gun control regulations go. California is the most heavily regulated state regarding gun control. It's also worth pointing out that this particular firearm was modified, and it's worth pointing out even more so that it was a handgun and not an AR. This Glock used a 10-round magazine with 1 in the chamber. It had been modified against California state laws, so it's crystal clear that no legislation currently exists that would have prevented this horrific situation, and also that no legislation proposed thus far would have prevented it either. California has been a hotbed for mass shootings. We saw it in San Bernardino. We saw it in Silicon Valley. This is just another example. It's terrifying, it's sad, but it's also just goes to show that you can't slap a no guns allowed on premises sign and expect that people, criminals, and or people with mental health issues are going to abide by that. Moving on, the midterm overview. I've had so many people ask me, what does this mean? What's going on? We retained the Senate. We lost the House. Oh, what's going to happen? Everybody breathe, because this is actually all very good news. I want to look at this in historical perspective. Generally, the party not in power will lose considerable seats in the House and the Senate, both houses of Congress. To give you a little bit of perspective on it, in the 2010 midterms, Obama lost 63 seats in the House, and that secured a GOP supermajority, and the GOP also picked up a gain of 6 seats in the Senate. And so by the end of his tenure, by the way, Obama had lost over 900 state legislature seats, 12 gubernatorial seats, 69 House seats, and 13 seats in the Senate. Take that information as a starting point. It's quite clear at this point that the blue tsunami, the blue wave, the thunderous blue crashing of water failed to materialize. It was more of a ripple, which is a generous choice of verbiage on my part. As of now, the GOP retains a 51-seat majority in the Senate, picking up 6 Senate seats as opposed to losing the way Obama did. And we now hold 197 seats within the House. So as of now, the GOP has 197 seats in the House compared to the Democrats holding 225 seats. That's a loss of 34 seats, or approximately, if you want to do a comparison, half of what Obama lost in his first midterm. The point in the overarching narrative that I would like to make and assure everyone is that this was definitively a cultural victory. This was an absolute middle finger, once again, to the establishment and to the liberals. Despite the exorbitant amount of money that was poured into each race, Beto O'Rourke spent, what were the numbers? It's like 50 quadrillion billion dollars, like God money. He spent more money than God. Obscene amounts of money. Despite the celebrity time, there was literally a telethon that Hollywood put on with celebrities manning phone banks. Despite the shaming of Americans by CNN and late night comics and Hollywood in general, the American people turned up and they turned out a victory. So the battleground states that we were looking at, we had Florida win for the Republicans, Indiana win for the Republicans, Missouri win for the Republicans, Tennessee, another win for the Republicans, Texas, which have been told forever has been going purple, was a win for Ted Cruz. Hallelujah. Way to go, Ted. As a native Texan, good job. Can always rely on Texans to do the right thing. And of course, North Dakota, win for the Republicans. A catalyst for this win, for this massive win, and let's call it what it is, for the GOP was Mr. Brett Kavanaugh. When they decided to go after Brett Kavanaugh with these baseless allegations, many of which have turned up to say, oh yeah, right, I'm sorry, I never met the man. When they throw these slings and arrows at a man of good faith, a man of morality, and they tell you that if you agree with him or you support him, then you're a rape apologist. This was most definitively a finger to the liberals. This was a cultural win on every single level. The media, the liberals, Hollywood, the elite have shoved their message down the throats of the American people. They have sat in their ivory towers. They have stood on their soapboxes. They have told us that we are racist, that we are a bunch of racists, that if you support the Second Amendment, then you want to see children murdered. They've told us that if we agree with capitalism or free market in regard to healthcare, then we want to see homeless people die in the streets. So when your narrative becomes this out of control, and it has been for 40 years, longer, much longer than I've been alive, this narrative has been ongoing, the American people are going to do precisely what we did, and that is secure victory. Definitive proof backing my statement that this was a referendum on the culture was the fact that those who stood against Brett Kavanaugh, every single Republican senator who voted against Kavanaugh in a red state, lost. Heidi Heitkamp, North Dakota. Claire McCaskill of Missouri. Joe Donnelly in Indiana. Joe Manchin was the only holdout, the only one that didn't toe that line from West Virginia, and he won. I call that a referendum. Where Trump campaigned, sweeping wins. Where Obama campaigned, Democrats lost. Hello, Florida, Indiana, the Georgia gubernatorial race. And this is what I don't understand. Why? And I'm not objecting. Please, Obama, stay in the limelight. Stay precisely within focus of the American people, because you are handing us wins. You are handing them over. Every single president, they leave office and they slip quietly into oblivion. They go away. Not Obama. Here's my recommendation. Everyone in America, every person alive, needs to find someone who loves them as much as Barack Obama loves Barack Obama. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, Kristen, why don't you attack Trump's rhetoric? Don't you think Trump has divisive rhetoric? The reason I don't attack Donald Trump's rhetoric is because he did not start the war. People who are calling for unity and calling for bipartisan agreement, these are people who have waged a war on the American people, on our God, on our right to bear arms, on everything that we stand for. They have waged an absolute cultural war against us for the better part of half a century. And hello, Donald Trump did not fire the first shot. The reason I do not attack Donald Trump, and yes, Trump's comments may not be quite helpful. Calling Stormy Daniels a horse face may not be helpful. It's hysterical, maybe not very helpful, but I don't come down on his rhetoric as hard as some people do, because as I said, he didn't fire the first shot. This has been an ongoing war, and to pretend that it hasn't been an ongoing war is to deny objective reality. So let's talk about what this means. There's obviously positives and negatives for the GOP going forward. There are always negatives with any victory, and I'll cover those, albeit there are much fewer negatives than there are positives. Before I cover those, I do want to point out that following the election, the reaction of the press is always a great indicator as to who the victor was. And the headlines by CBS and MSNBC and CNN were all very, very telling as to who the victor was in this midterm cycle. Headlines from CBS included blaming the weather. I'm not joking. I know I wore a raincoat in the beginning of this video, so it's hard not to laugh. Yes, blaming the weather for low Democratic turnout. And a lot of pundits from these liberally run DNC funded stations openly admitting that the blue wave failed completely to materialize. So that's always a great sign. In usual fashion as well, the Democrats, upon failing to take the Senate, immediately begin to search for someone to whom they can point the finger of blame. They must place blame. It is a compulsion. It is in their DNA. The blame must be distributed. And so this radical feminist author named Mona Elthawai, I think that's how you say it, declared that white women who voted Republican in Florida, Georgia, and Texas, which, might I remind you, are all states that the DNC poured obscene amounts of money into, were quote-unquote foot soldiers of the patriarchy. My fellow Texan women, you're foot soldiers for the patriarchy. Didn't you know that? Didn't you know? You're brainwashed. You bunch of idiots. God, we're so stupid. The men, they've controlled our minds. Wake up! So here are the positives for the GOP. Without a supermajority in either house of the Congress, the Democrats are essentially toddlers in an NBA pickup game. It's like they can't really put many points on the board, but they kind of are going to get under our feet and slow us down. The good thing is that in the past 21 months, the Trump administration has been able to secure so many legislative victories that there really wasn't a lot legislatively on the agenda. So stonewalling anything going forward isn't that big of a deal. I would have liked to have seen Obamacare rolled back completely. I personally don't agree that pressuring pharmaceutical companies to lower their prices is an effective strategy any more than I believe pressuring doctors to lower their costs is an effective strategy. I think that the free market has definitively been proven to be most effective in driving the most competitive products and services at the lowest prices. This is my personal opinion. Yes, the individual mandate is gone. That's a good thing. If we could repeal Obamacare completely, I would be happy. But hey, I'm a realist, I'm not a liberal, and I know that utopia is not possible, unlike the Marxists, which is pretty much the DNC at this point. Utopia. Upsides, again, we will continue to pack the judiciary. And I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of the curve on this one because I can sense the crazy coming on already. The story regarding Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Liberals, please listen to me closely. Here are the facts, because I know that you're preemptively freaking out. Your cumulative minds are imploding over the thought of another Supreme Court nomination. I want to preface this very clearly in stating that I hope Ruth Bader Ginsburg lives a long, 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 healthy life. I wish her good health. I wish her long life. However, should something happen, let's look at the facts. The woman is like a million. I truly believe that she has been dead probably for some time now. Let's be realistic. This fall was simply a mishap, a weekend at Bernie's mishap. So with all the midterm excitement, I think whomever it was that was on duty that day, just like propping her up and carrying her about like this animated human puppet, dropped the ball, dropped the evil bat. I mean, drop the bat. The ball. They dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. She got dropped. That's what I'm saying. Call me crazy, but I think once you reach like 400 years old, once you're at the age where you can remember and recount the writing of the Declaration, then maybe not sit on the Supreme Court. Just a suggestion. If they do a yay or nay vote and your answer is purple, dude, just retire. Watch your stories. Watch the birds. Feed a pigeon. Again, all that said, I wish her long life and good health and blah, 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 blah. If that slot were to open, I think it's a safe bet to say that Miss Amy Coney Barrett would more than likely occupy it, which is just dandy buttercakes with me because I have a girl crush. She is phenomenal. Please. Amy. I'm so excited. Amy Coney Barrett sitting on SCOTUS would be the equivalent of Ben Shapiro sitting on SCOTUS. Just saying. I'm a little bit of a fangirl. I say this to end with a plea. Please, leftist, for once, no mobs. Just once, no riots, please. Before any of that even happens, just once. If this woman goes to see glory, don't snap into freak out mode and start beating us again. We did not kill her. If it happens, we didn't do it. Time did. And it did it very, very slowly. If we're going to be honest about the situation, I think apart from the GOP completely sweeping both houses of Congress. This is the best possible scenario. And this is because if the Democrats try to undo what Trump has done or pass some crazy legislation, we still have the power of the veto pen, and Trump's not afraid to use it. We did see in the suburban areas that the one demographic that seemingly changed were women. And so I think this is the best of all possible scenarios. They don't have enough power to really do any damage apart from maybe opening an investigation into Trump, at which point he would then open an investigation into them. And quite frankly, I think they have many more skeletons in the closet than he does. I think these women who voted against their best interest will begin to see the legislation that the Democrats begin to put forward, and it's going to give them a glimpse into how incredibly phenomenal America is doing right now. I think they're going to see the fact that we have more money in our pockets, the economy is booming, everything is great, people in my family have a job. They're going to see all this, and they're going to see the Democrats' main goal is to undo all of that. So hopefully this will be a little peek into what the Democrats would actually do were they to have any real level of power. And so it's a win all across the board for us. So I say with full confidence that the outcome of these midterms was precisely what it was projected to be, and it was very much a win for the GOP. I think this is a glimpse into exactly what we're going to see in 2020, and that is the Democrats doubling down on their intersectionality politics, their attack of the American people, and the continuing middle finger to regular Americans. I don't think that they've learned their lesson, and they probably should really quickly, because we're just going to continue to dominate you people. I think this most certainly has solidified, in my mind, a total sweep in 2020. All good things, and I'm very, very happy. So, how do you feel about the midterms? Leave a comment in the section below. Don't forget to push subscribe and hit that like button. And once again, well done, my fellow Patriots. This has been Kristen Pinkerton, the Pink Patriot, and I'll talk to you real soon. God bless America.